2.5 years ago, the €315 billion European Fund for Strategic Investments, or EFSI, was unveiled. The target? To kickstart a flagging investment environment.
So is the plan working? Well, the bulk of financing from EFSI till now has gone to projects in research and development and to small and medium enterprises. But the investment levels in innovation and infrastructure, well, they're still far, far below pre-crisis levels. So these guys have given the plan an upgrade.
The new investment target? €500 billion by 2020, still based on the principle that every European fund euro can be leveraged to €15 of investments. The fund will now pump €26 billion from the EU budget and €7.5 billion from the European Investment Bank.
Now, it's this leverage ratio that's helped financing get to things like healthcare, internet access, or even renewable energy. And it's gone across Europe from countries like Greece, Poland, Estonia, and even Portugal and Spain.
So Guillaume Desjardins went to sunny Spain to get a reality check of whether this financing is really helping innovation to get off the ground.
Despite a recent and timid improvement, issues related to access to credit remain sky high for businesses in Spain, notwithstanding the €6.5 billion of investments approved by the EIB. But critics are quick to point out that large projects, with relatively easier access to credit, seem to be the big winners.
We know the officials, and we knew they would be interested in this kind of projects. The European Investment Bank fits very well with our philosophy.
At SICA, the fresh funds allowed the company to develop cleaner recycling technology and create new jobs.
We created with this project about 120 permanent jobs, and also during the construction phase we created 500 employees.
The European Investment Plan has allowed SICA to develop even more, but the company was already the market leader with factories all across Europe. For Expite, however, a local startup that specialises in medical supplies of the future, it made all the difference. Finding funding wasn't easy.
The problem was, okay, you don't have anything to cover our loans, and we can do anything.
The €300,000 he received allow one to develop a prototype and double his staff, but it wasn't all plain sailing.
For us, take 2 person, 2 months working. It's a tough process for us because we are not that big company like others. And for us, 2 person, 2 months means 20% of our people working only in that. Maybe the European Bank can use like a mentor who help you with filling all the forms.
The small companies work through intermediary institutions. Sometimes they are not aware the money, the funds are coming from the European Union. They believe that this is a local bank who's providing the loan.
An improved, streamlined process, better awareness for entrepreneurs. This could be the best way to improve the investment fund.
So how do companies and projects like the one that Guillaume just showed us access that financing? Here's the not-so-secret way.
The European Fund for Strategic Investments allows John, Katie and Simone to showcase their ventures for investment. Private sector John and public sector Katie have large projects with more than 3,000 staff. Simone's is a small business, so her company's audition is scheduled in front of judges from national promotional banks. John and Katie first audition in front of EIB staff who assess if they're viable. If they pass that check, the audition moves to the EIB's investment committee. 2 criteria must be met for the project to go live. Is it too risky for anyone else to finance? And does it fill a major gap in the market and is additional to anything else the EIB is funding? If the committee says yes, John and Katie can use the EFSI vetting and funding to help raise more money by convincing other investors of their project's viability. Simone follows a similar process, but with her local bank or financial institution, who are given EFSI funds to help small companies like hers. But I'm not the only one left pondering if the plan is actually having its intended impact. So Jyrki Katainen, Vice President of the European Commission, joined me for our annual check on Europe's investment plan.
So tell us what you've brought as the real stuff to show us what FC is doing now.
Well, this is the most concrete stuff to show. This is a social impact bond project. It's co-financed by FC, private sector and government of Finland, and its aim is to provide jobs for 2,500 migrants in Finland. I wanted to raise this issue because this is slightly different than normal FC investment, which are SME financing or industrial projects or infrastructure.
So when you talk about FC and migrants, it also brings up the question of employment for Europeans. 300,000 is the number that's been thrown around.
300,000 jobs is based on FC investments done until the end of 2016. So the current figure is bigger. In terms of business area, 640,000 European SMEs have got financing. They are in tourism, they are in digital, but also there are larger projects.
It brings up a question of transparency, that the EIB is still doing business with old clients, people they know. Who's got oversight?
FC has provided guarantees only to European Investment Bank. Now we are concentrating on InvestEU fund, which is slightly different than FC, and we try to learn a lesson from FC how we could improve, for instance, transparency. InvestEU promotes investment in sustainable infrastructure, in SMEs, R&D, and social infrastructure. But in InvestEU fund, EIB will stay as a key implementing partner, but we will open the EU guarantees for the other national promotional banks.
Again, who has oversight about the projects chosen? Who's going to do the checks and balances? And what about R&D funding that comes through the EU budget? Is this now going to all be about loans and guarantees and forget about the funding?
The financial institution which at the end of the day provides the financing is irresponsible of checking whether the project is economically viable. There are two funds which will provide financing to innovations. First is Horizon Europe, which is providing grants. And then InvestEU fund, which is providing equity and guarantees and loans.
Does it reduce the budget for
No, it
the
doesn't.
funds?
It doesn't. Actually, already today in Horizon 2020, we have both financial instruments and grants. And now the situation will maintain, but financial instruments are put under the InvestEU fund, but they are earmarked to innovations and research.
So there's hope.
Market is improving, luckily, in many countries, but still there is a need for SME financing, especially on innovations.
On that note, Vice President, thank you so very much for joining us on this show.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us. We'll catch you next time in Greece.